In Ukraine, the mayor of Odessa says Russia's aerial assault on Odessa overnight into today was one of the most horrible nights of the war. Let's check in with Joseph Lindsley in Ukraine. Joe, how are you? Everything all clear where you are?
Yeah, Bob, good afternoon from Kharkiv. It's many alarms today. I can't even count how many alarms we've had. The last one just ended a few moments ago, and it's a beautiful blue sky day with very little clouds. And so, my first thought is, at least if there's a missile coming, I'll have a few extra seconds to see it coming. When there's too many clouds, there's no chance to see it. And that's just that's a normal thought, on a Wednesday afternoon here. And that attack last night in Odessa, indeed, everyone there said it's the most massive attack that the Russians have made on the city. And all told, in the middle of the night last night, the Russians sent more than 60 missiles and drones to Ukraine. There were a few in Kyiv at about 5 o'clock this morning, which the air defense intercepted. But the brunt of that attack was on the city of Odessa, that seaside city. It's called the Pearl of the Black Sea. Many people think that, as I've said before, that Putin thinks of Odessa the way Hitler thought of Paris, and that he's wanted to preserve that city. But the fact that he would start to attack it now should be very telling of his intentions. During several waves through the night, it took about an hour for the attack to happen, and there were 16 caliber sea-based missiles launched from Russian ships in the Black Sea, 8 KH-22 cruise missiles launched from long-range bombers over the Black Sea, 6 Onyx missiles launched from Russian bases in the Crimean Peninsula, which again underscores the importance for Ukrainians of getting the Crimean Peninsula back, because it's very easy for the Russians to attack from their positions there. And in addition, 1 KH-59 guided air missile from a fighter jet over the Black Sea. And then on top of all that, there were 32 of these Iranian Shahed suicide drones, most of them sent over Odessa, some over Mykolaiv. So more than 60 missiles and drones sent over the Ukraine, most of them to Odessa. In Odessa, they hit the grain silos and the oil storage at the port of Odessa. And we have to remember that on Monday, July 17th, that grain export deal that the United Nations and Turkey brokered expired. And everyone's saying that, a lot of people are sort of echoing the Russian propaganda that this is Russia's revenge for whatever happened on the Crimean bridge several days ago. There was an explosion. Ukraine claimed credit for it. But the real story is that grain deal expired. And that grain deal allowed Ukrainians to a safe passage from the ports of Odessa and Mykolaiv to export. And hours after it expired yesterday, the Russians attacked Odessa, and then tonight, this massive major attack. So it seems that this was probably in the works. Probably the Kremlin was planning this for some time. They even hit a fireworks storage, like a fireworks depot, just to add to the, who knows if that was intentional or not, but that added to the stress and the terror, just because the sounds were so awful last night in Odessa. And I was checking in on friends in Odessa this morning, and one of them who owns a jazz club, I said, how's Odessa? And we got to remember, Odessa is a city of great humor and spirit. They always joke around. I said, how is Odessa? And he said, beautiful. We all slept so well after the biggest night strike. After when the all clear alarm sounded, it was a great sleep. But he said, nevertheless, I had dreams with falling planes, and I also dreamt about another bombing. And and this is pretty normal in time in war. For me, for everyone here, your dreams are filled with these bombs and explosions and drones. Sometimes, like in different settings, like I'll dream of explosions happening on the street where I grew up or my university, and you can't tell when if you're half asleep, you're not sure if it's real or fake. But that's the Odessa joke today, is that everyone slept well after about 4 o'clock in the morning when this hell finally stopped.
I can't imagine trying to sleep through any of that. It must have felt good, though, Joseph, for you to hear about Britain's intelligence chief being so optimistic about Ukraine. He said that Ukraine has recovered more territory in a month than the Russians managed to achieve in a year, and that there appears to be a little prospect of the Russian forces regaining momentum. Hope he's right.
Yeah, and actually I had not heard that, but that's an important perspective because we can, as we look at the slow, it's a slow and steady pace of the counteroffensive. But if you can, that's a very good point. If you compare it to the lack of progress Russia made since last summer, up until June of 2022, Russia was making significant progress, but then Bakhmut, they were focused on Bakhmut for more than a year. And so this is an excellent point to remember that the Ukrainians have held the Russians at bay. Still, the Ukrainians need, and they continue to make the appeal for fighter jets. And as I talked with you the past couple of days about the landmine situation, it is so difficult there on the ground in the counteroffensive. And they have to, if they move too quickly, they're going to lose more lives. So moving slow is the way it has to be. But if they had at least some air support, they could be more effective and more quick with this. And so that support is essential. And it still is a mystery to me why the defense secretary of the United Kingdom, who's been really one of the strongest allies of Ukraine. In fact, when Boris Johnson fell out of power, everyone was saying people loved Boris because he was one of the first foreign politicians to really support Ukraine. But everyone said, "Oh, it's going to be okay because Ben Wallace is still there in the UK," and I think it is a concern that such one of the strongest supporters of Ukraine is going to be leaving his. He won't be in the same position to help as he has been.
We'll leave you with something else that'll make you feel good. Text from one of our listeners, Margaret. Hi, Bob and Joseph. Tornado alarms here gave me new empathy for the alarms Joseph lives with. If he can say it, I'd love to know whether there are all clear bells. Thanks for the demining story too. I also want a long stick. Best to both of you.
Indeed, they're all clear alarms, and they sound different in every region of the country. In Lviv, it's very poetic. Lvova. It says like trevoha. Anxiety is dismissed.
Wow.
Here in Kharkiv, it's just a bell. But it is madness because you hear so many alarms throughout the day. Just one thing to emphasize that in every account I'm reading today of the Odessa attack, Russia's attacks on Odessa, they all say it's in retaliation for the Crimean bridge attack. And even the Secretary General of the United Nations, he tweeted yesterday, he condemned Russia for failing to extend the Black Sea grain export agreement, but he never condemned Russia for attacking Odessa yesterday, and we'll see if he condemns them today. It's very interesting that he was more upset about the treaty being ended than the city being destroyed and the ports being destroyed. Something to pay attention to.
Yeah, we will. That is interesting. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Thank you. Be well, Joseph.
Thank you for introducing Ukraine on your social media pages. That's very important that much more people can get more information about the situation here and how everybody can help Ukraine to stay stronger and to save all the world.
Что он сказал?
Well, which side are you on?
На чьей ты стороне?
Come on now. Oh, which side are you on?
На чьей ты стороне?